Hey guys, this is Drew from ZP Reviews. I wanted to follow up with the third video in my Amazon FBA story, and soon I want to get my partner on here. It's actually a two-man group, but he's still real busy. He still works in financial services. He's wonderful. He's my good friend of 15 years, and I can honestly say, for you guys who haven't started yet, haven't invested any money, partners help. Doing it on your own, oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine. So look out for him. He's my partner in crime, aka Double Dragon. So that being said, this video I wanted to make about actual product launch. Like, most people when they I guess if you look on YouTube, and at least this is what I found, product research is, oh, you can go find a product in 5 minutes or 10 20 minutes and 20,000 a month or this and that. I don't know if that's the right way to go about researching. There's lots of techniques, right? You can find all sorts of tips and tricks, but for me, what I did to find my product is at my workplace, right? I work in a worked in a manufacturing environment as a chemical engineer, and I was aware of all of the things operators use to get their jobs done. So for me, I was looking, so what do these guys need? And in looking for their need, I took a bunch of ideas from that situation, and then I went to Amazon, and then I started looking, and then, you know what I mean? So I guess for me is I was searching for problems to solve. So can you always do that? No, but I think that's a sound way, because the good thing about it is when you go about it that way, you start looking for things in your life or people associated with you, or you know what I mean? And if you find a product that way, you're bound to also have a little bit of inside info on it that, say just looking randomly on Amazon, you wouldn't quite get. So I think that's a sneaky trick. It's not really much of a trick, but I don't know, I would say consider it. So to the title, there are three main topics that you need to consider before you choose a product. And first, and this is the most obvious one, is demand and competition. I put these two together because ultimately you shouldn't get into selling anything, whether it's Amazon FBA or any kind of online business. Say you wanted to do a YouTube. You need to consider you're getting on there. There's other entrepreneurs, there's other business owners who are trying to do the same things and this and that, but there's also customer demand. So when you're on Amazon, you need to figure out, one, search volumes, and then two, once you have search volumes, right, you need to see what products are in that space, right? So what I used things like Jungle Scout at first. I had the Chrome extension, I had the web app. I canceled the web app. It's not bad. I mean, it's very good. I just think that if you're not constantly adding products, it's not really a whole point to keeping it going. So right now I use Helium 10. I use their product research, and I'll tell you why. Is you can follow the dollar amounts that Jungle Scout and Amazon Scout and all these things, they'll tell you revenue, and you're just like, yeah. But what you don't get from that is that revenue isn't profit. Revenue is just sales, but you don't see how much they spend on ads or whatever they're doing to generate that revenue. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. So it's more important that there's demand, so there's search volume, so that you can generate that kind of revenue, and then also what your competitors are looking like. So you need to get that information, absolutely. And this kind of segues into the second part, margin. Margin is, if you're going to put your money up front to not just launch the product, but also advertise it, you're going to factor in your advertising cost, your shipping cost, your product cost, your packaging cost, and you need to know these things. Like, you need to know how much it really costs you to put this product out, because too many times you'll just hear someone say, okay, Jungle Scout it, and then go to Alibaba, and then there's your margin. No, don't do that. You need to know right now that you're going to have giveaway cost, potentially, depending on how competitive your keywords are. You need to know how much the advertising really is, because, like, for me, I did kind of like a segmented approach to launching. So it was like, maybe coming from this side, it would be, if it was a graph and it was, this was time, right? And this was, just dollar spent. My dollar spent was real high at first for the giveaways and advertising, and then it slowly tapered off like a little curve until now the cost of advertising is lower. But early on, you need to push, right? Get your stuff out there, and you want to do that with reviews and everything. But one mistake that I made is that I didn't properly calculate how much that would cost. And if you don't do that, you might get caught with your pants down. Luckily for us, and this is why I said before, to come with more money to the table, we had plenty of cushion. We had plenty of cushion. We did not bare bones it, so that we had budget available. So it worked out for us. But if I were to say to someone else, and if I were to do this over again, absolutely have probably, there's my dogs. They're barking and stuff. Hey, why don't you go back in there? You want to see something? I don't know. Shitsies. Real territorial. So, margin, right? You need to know how much you're getting. And what I recommend is that 20% is the minimum margin that I would accept. And the reason why I say 20% is that below 20%, you can start making just as much money through other passive sources, right? You could just throw your money at these stocks and bonds, and and lots of them will tell you they'll make money for you, and then they might. You know what I mean? You could do a real estate investment trust, but if you're doing sub 20%, you shouldn't want to be active, because you need to think about the cost of your time, right? So some of you are working and you're doing this on the side. Don't pick a product that has such low margin that it costs you so much in time to keep that going, and so much in ads, and you name it. It's like, for instance, like yoga mat or lightning cables, and you do these things. There may be a margin on the surface, but then all of a sudden you realize, I need to spend thousands of dollars to rank for these keywords to even start sniffing these things. And that's what people don't tell you. You want to be able to have 50 sales a day. Well, you also have to have the ad spend. So margin, and really think about this. And I said before, what we do is we take meticulous notes, and we write down what we expect. So say I use Jungle Scout, I would write down, here is the revenue then, here's the revenue then, here's the revenue then, and I'm plotting these points. This is maybe a little engineering for me, but I keep this data, right? So coming from my first step, to demand, as well as the competition. So from demand, I'm tracking the search volumes, right? And then I'm tracking the sales, and these are two numbers, they're very important, right? And you want to take these over, say, a week period. And then you also know that there's some kind of margin, because you're looking at a product that you could potentially source that will get you, say, 40%. I think that's a sweet spot. If you can get 40% after advertising, you picked a good one. But then it leads me. So say you've done these two steps, and you've been tracking the search volume, and you know that, say, you can project, if you're on the first page, of the sum of these keywords. Don't just pick one. I say 10 and then flesh out from there, but get 10 perfect keywords that are going to give you good amount of impressions, that if you get ranked for them, be good. Once you figure that out, and then you got an idea on how many sales that you can get from those impressions, right? So the idea is, if you got 200,000 impressions per week, that means 1% of that, you might be getting 2,000 clicks. And these 2,000 clicks, those are where you potentially get your sales, right? And you could use different numbers, but I always like to use 1% and stay worst case scenario. That said, the final thing, so once you've qualified that, and all of a sudden you have an estimate of your search, the search volume that you're going to get for this potential product, right? You got an idea on what your competitors is doing, and then on top of that, you've gone to Alibaba, you see what kind of margin. And we can flesh out the Alibaba step on another one, but once you figure that out, the third thing is the quality, and that's going to be in your supplier selection. What I recommend is go after high volume factories and trading companies, because the higher volume companies that churn out tons of products, they're the ones that are less likely to give you BS, or we just say spotty kind of service, because a lot of times they're going to give you your best service on your first order, but what counts is second, third, fourth. You want a continued relationship. So quality is huge. And what we did, I'm a crazy ass dude. I'm not even gonna lie. I would not recommend this to anyone else, but we actually paid 100% up front for our product, and it paid off. I mean, we got our products in, we used DDP shipping, so it was pricier shipping, but we picked a nice light product, so it wasn't too bad. But we were constantly gracious as well as kind, and we use a very specific template. And we spoke to the supplier. We made sure that the things that were important to us were there, but we're also courteous. Have, nice day, thanks for your time. And you're always kind, because don't forget, maybe this is my own experience working at a plant, but we had customers that would call our logistics people, our salespeople, and the biggest thing is you forget that you're not talking to, your company that you source from, not just one person. It's probably like hundreds, and this is just one person that represents them talking to you. So they're your best ally. So you want to treat them well until they give you a reason, not to, obviously. But as the owner, remember your greatest leverage is your money. So what I would say, send out multiple quotes. Send out the same message on a RFQ, and like I said, we can talk about Alibaba. Just comment below if you want me to go in depth on Alibaba and like some sourcing tactics. But needless to say, be kind. Remember that these are human beings, no matter if they're foreign countries, not necessarily China. There could be all sorts of places, or you could be sourcing from the United States. If you find that margin right from before. So if you can cover those 3 steps, and all of a sudden you feel like you got a high quality, and don't just go for the cheapest price on Alibaba either. I highly recommend that you choose a high quality supplier that's professional, because my mother, right, she did business years ago before the internet and everything, but she had everything covered except that trust with the supplier, and sure enough, her second order fell through, and there goes the business. So I mean, you could talk about keywords and this and that, and all the little tips and tricks, but what happens if you have no product? You're done. You know what I mean? You'll stock out, and then if you have a bad relationship with that supplier, then you got to go through the process of another one, and it's messy. So, to me, those are the 3 main things. Once you've covered these bases and you keep that broad perspective, what kind of demand? Don't just pick a product because you like it. Pick a product because people that you have, facts, right? That there are people searching for it, number 1. 2, you need to make sure that your competitors in this market, maybe there aren't any competitors, that lucky, right? And then you can PPC launch, you can get in on a nice thing, but don't count on that. 2, once you factor in that margin, you pick price points that are reasonable. I always recommend pick a price. Look at where the median price, not the average, but the median price of your competitors, and then just go a little higher than that. Never go low. I don't like price battle. I don't care what they do. To me, if you're gonna come into the market, you don't want to undercut and say I can do it cheaper. That's some people believe in that, but that way to me is better if you got lots of money. If you don't have lots of money, instead go for the higher quality, because then you're gonna go, maybe less sales volume, but you'll make a better margin. And just, don't stake your life on that, because if you do, well, what do you know about business? You gotta spend money to make money. So that would be my take. So if you want to hear like more specifics about these 3 steps, like and subscribe, comment below, and I definitely love to talk to you. I just wanted to follow up. One of the people that commented on one of my videos was asking about mentorship. I'm not planning to do a course. I don't really believe in it, because mainly the only reason I didn't like the idea of courses is that you spend a lot of money up front, and it's already expensive to get your product. So what I think I might do is I might do a Patreon, and then just have, if you want to get feedback from me like one-on-one, we'll do a Patreon, and that'll be simpler because it'll probably be a lot cheaper, and then you just get the information you need versus you know what I mean, here's everything up front, figure it out, or I feel like that's messier. So I'll do a limited time Patreon, and I'll make like a private group, and then we can talk to people there, and I think that would be better. And if that's something that you guys are interested, definitely comment below, like I said, and I probably say we'll make that free to the first 100 subscribers. That's what I'll say, because I feel like this could balloon quickly if I'm not careful. So, anyways, guys, I wanted to hit those big points, and like I said, make sure there's demand. Demand is the most key thing, and then after that, worry about the rest. So, this is Drew from ZP Reviews. Thanks for your time.